Today I wanted to share with you some cards that I had made out of scraps. Now, these are some quick and simple ideas that you can use with any scraps in your stash. So first I'm going to show you the first card. For this card, I used a little tiny piece of 2x2 paper and created a little paper envelope embellishment. Used a little strip here as an accent. And then this piece here was just a scrap. I just really love that flower. And I put this on a pattern paper card base. This paper is from Jen-Velope. I'm not sure if she has this anymore, but it was from a collection pack that I picked up on clearance for $1 for a whole bunch of them. So they were really nice, and I just had never used them. So this design is super simple. You can incorporate similar idea into any card and slap on a sentiment, and there you go. So that's my first card. My second card has an ephemera piece here, and this is from the Stamperia Rose collection. This is from the dollar store. This is just a pack I picked up from the dollar store. So this one is the Stamperia Rose, and they're just off-cut strips that I lined up on the front of my card and popped up a little sentiment and just to create some interest, and I thought that was really pretty. Oh, and I have a little piece of ephemera on the inside just to tie everything in together nicely. And then I have this scallop border. Now this particular paper was from a Recollections paper pad, and I made this card out of something that was sitting in a bucket for about 2 years. Let me show you what I mean. I had all of these scrap pieces of paper in a bucket because I was inspired at one point in time in my life to create an altered composition notebook. And I got as far as covering the book, and I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't really excited about it, so I just put it off to the side. I kept all the papers together and I did nothing with it. So I thought, well, let me see what I can do with some of these papers. They were too beautiful to waste. So I took some of those strips and cut aparts, and I took a circle punch, and I just punched out a whole bunch of circles to create this beautiful sort of scallop look. And I curled the ends a little to give it a little bit of dimension, and I really, really love the result here. I'm going to show you how to make this one today. And then the next piece I have is sort of like a tile background or strip background. So it's just pieces of strips going diagonally across the card, and they sort of meet up anywhere, just randomly across the card. And then I had this little cut apart from this paper pack, and this is all from this same collection of stuff that I had sitting around forever. So I took those strips, I cut it up, and I made these beautiful cards, and I was really inspired to come and share some of these techniques with you today. So really super beautiful cards using nothing but scraps. So let's dive into that, and we'll make some of these cards. Let's start with this one. So the first thing we're going to need is a circle punch. Now you can use any size that you have. I happen to have this one, which is 1.5 inches. And I went ahead and I punched out a whole bunch of circles from 3 patterns of cardstock. Now you could do as many as you like or as little as you like, but I thought 3 was a nice number. So I did that, and I punched out all of these little circles. So I have my 3 patterns here. Just making sure. Okay, so I have 3 patterns of circles, and I want to keep the darkest in the middle to separate the lightest, the 2 lighter patterns. So we're going to start on the bottom. We're going to figure out where sort of the middle of this piece of paper is. And this is a 5x7 card base. I'm going to grab my ruler. This is a Tim Holtz ruler, and it has like a center guide, so I can see exactly where the center of this will be, and it's going to be at 3.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is grab a pencil and make a little mark there at 3.5 inches so that I know where to line up my first circle. Okay, so I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to line it up on the center of that circle. Now I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive. I'm going to use liquid glue because it's forgiving, and it'll give me a chance to move things around. So I'm going to apply adhesive just on one little tippy top part of this circle. Okay, and I'll line up that circle onto the center of my card base. This doesn't have to be perfect, just as best as I can get it. I do see a little bit of glue oozing out. I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to bother with it. Okay, so now I'm going to work my way out. So I'm going to take the next circle, apply a little bit of adhesive, and I'll make sure that my writing is sort of upright, and I'm going to touch this other circle. Line it up right to the edge of my card base and lined up with this circle. Okay, I'll do that one more time. Actually, this one has a crease in it. I'm not going to use this one. I'll take this one, add a little bit of adhesive there, and then line it up to the bottom of my card base, touching the other circle. Okay, and like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not going for perfection, we're going for handmade. So I'll get that in there. Okay, looks good. And then I'm going to keep going. I'll add another one to this side, and it's going to overhang a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We'll come back and trim that later on. So that, get that lined up there. And then one more on this side. Now, depending on the size of your circle, that will determine how many circles you get across the bottom of your card base. And for this one, I got 5, and I'm just going to snip those little edges later on when everything is dry. Okay, so that's it for the first row of circles. Now for the second row of circles, this is where I want to make sure that I get everything nice and straight. So I want to make sure that I'm using my ruler here. So wherever I start with the first one, I'm going to continue on in that line. So I'm going to take my first circle, add a little bit of adhesive just in the top like we had done before, and I'm going to line this up right over top where those circles meet. Okay, so I don't want it any farther than that, just where those circles meet, right to the little tip of that point there. Okay, so I'll do that to the first one, and then the second one, we'll line it up, covering that little tip, making sure that my 2 circles touch. So I'll use my ruler here to make sure that these are lined up nice and straight and I don't sort of kind of get wonky there. Okay, so I'll take the next circle, a little bit of adhesive in the top, line it up over the point of those 2 circles and touching the other circle. Okay, and press that adhesive in. I hope that makes sense. So we want to touch these and cover that little point. Continue with the next one, making sure everything is straight and I'm not getting off, sort of getting wonky, covering those 2 points and touching my other circle. Okay, looks good. Now here, instead of using 2 circles, I can just cut this one in half and apply it to either end. So let me do that. So I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive in the top here, apply my circle, meet that point, and make sure that they're at the same height. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing to this side. So basically I want to make sure that I don't get any glue on the bottom parts of my circle because I want that to be able to fluff up a bit so that we get that dimension. Now this guy is really off. Okay, good enough. Alright, I don't want to make this too complicated either. Alright, so now we'll move on to the final section, and I think we can just go ahead and start laying it like that, as long as it's above that one. I guess it's not really going to matter. So I'm going to put the first circle on and cover up those points where the 2 circles meet. Okay, and my next one. Let's make sure that these are staying in a line. Okay, there we go. So that's done. Now we want to give everything some time to dry before we do anything else. Alright, so once this is all dry, we're going to flip open our card and cut away anything that's hanging off the side. Okay, and then I've got a couple of little scraps here. I have some really nice foil cardstock that I thought would go nicely with this, and I also have some blue cardstock. So I want to attach these things together to go across the front of my card to finish off that little scallop pattern. So I'm just going to apply a little thin strip of liquid glue here, and then across the top here a little bit of glue. Okay, and then I'm going to add this to the top of my card to separate those scallops from the card. And then we'll cut off any excess. Last, I have this beautiful sentiment that will pop up on the front of the card with some foam squares. And then this card will be done. Super quick and easy. And all we did was use some scraps that were sitting around my desk for 100 years. And I like that. Oh, the last thing I wanted to do was curl those little scallops. Now that everything's dried, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to pull up on each of those little circles, just to pop them up to give them dimension. We don't want to lift it too much, but enough to give it a little bit of a lift. And so I just grab my circle, I pull it up around my pencil and pull back a little bit just to curl it. You could do this before you glue down your circles, but I feel like you get the best result after everything's been glued down. Just give it a little extra lift, and there you go. Look at this beautiful card, super simple, very elegant. I love that extra little foil detail. I do notice that my strip is a little bit crooked. I kept having to pause this video and stop my dog from barking. I hope that you enjoyed this little scrappy project. In my next video, I'll share with you some techniques on strips, like in this card and in this card. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed today's scrappy project. I had so much fun making these cards, and I hope that you'll join me for some more scrappy projects. If you like what you've seen here today, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It helps support me, and I would love to have you along my journey here on YouTube. Coming up on screen is a playlist for other scrappy videos that I think you might enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!